Today's objective is the circumference and area of a circle. So a circle is a shape with all points equidistant from the center. If you think of a square, if you put a point in the center, the corners are not the same distance as the edges are. That's why it would make a triangle, right? So a circle has all points equidistant from the center, and it is not a polygon because it is not made of line segments. The distance from the center to any point on the circle is called the radius. So I happen to draw it going out to the right, but you could draw it any way around, okay? So the halfway across is the radius. I think this is review. And the distance across the circle through the center is called the diameter. Okay, so here this is going across. If it doesn't go through the center, it's called a chord, but we're not talking about chords today. Okay, we're talking about radius and diameter. Now notice, if this goes halfway across and this goes all the way across, I could draw the radius going to the right and the radius going to the left. So radius plus radius equals the diameter. Or you could say the diameter is 2 times whatever the radius measurement is. The distance around the circle is the circumference. So I drew this line, the circle's in red, and I drew the line in black, so I'm going all the way around. And it's not called the perimeter, but basically it's the same thing. It's the distance around the shape. Now this is interesting. Every circle, every single circular shape, has the same relationship between its diameter and its circumference. You could wrap, if you measured the diameter, you could wrap the diameter lengths 3 times around a circle, and there'll still be a little circumference left not covered. Okay, so I'll read what I actually wrote. You could wrap 3 diameter lengths around every circle, and there would still be a little circumference not covered. So we took this, if we wrapped it, we'd end up about here. The relationship between the diameter and the circumference is what we call pi. That's how you spell it. Here's the Greek letter pi. All right, and to find it, you do circumference measurement divided by diameter measurement. And we approximate that at 3.14, and you know it's an irrational number, it goes on forever. So, since circumference divided by diameter is 3.14, we could multiply both sides diameter to get circumference by itself and end up with circumference equals 3.14 times the diameter, or to be more accurate, circumference equals pi times the diameter. And since the diameter is 2 radius, you could also say the circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. And remember, in our notation, we always write numbers first, then we write symbols that have a known amount next to it, then we write our variables, because the radius on every single circle can change. So here's a couple problems. I give you a circle. I want you to A, find the diameter, well, 1, find the diameter, and 2, find the circumference. So I'm going to do this a long way, but you can just multiply it in your head. The diameter is 2 times the radius. So if the radius is 4, 2 times 4 is 8. So the diameter would be 8 meters. The circumference equals pi times the diameter. Circumference equals, and I'll explain this little asterisk in a second. Circumference equals 3.14 times 8, which if you do it on your calculator, which you are totally allowed to use on this, you get 25.12 meters. Now this is circumference, it's not area, so it's just the distance around, so it's just meters. Now if you have a pi key, use the pi key on your calculator to make it a little bit more accurate. And when you use the pi key, your number will be a little bit bigger because you're multiplying by 3.14159.265, blah, blah, blah. You know longer than I do, okay? But if you don't, use 3.14. All right, here's another problem. I'm telling you the circumference is 186 centimeters. You need to find the radius, okay? So let's write down our formula so we make sure we substitute everything in correctly. Circumference equals pi times diameter. I told you it's 186, so I'm going to write 186 equals, I don't have a pi key on my calculator, so I have to write down 3.14 so I know what to multiply, times diameter. Okay, I have it on other calculators, just not the one I'm using right now. Now, divide both sides to isolate their variable by 3.14, or if you're using a calculator with the pi key, you would just do 186 divided by pi. And then you would get your diameter is 59.24 centimeters. Oh, yeah, the diameter is 59.24 centimeters, but I said find the radius. So you need to make sure you answer the questions that's asked. Okay, the diameter is the same as 2 times the radius, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2, so my radius is 29.62 centimeters, or 29 62/100 centimeters. And you will have a little bit smaller number because you're dividing by pi, but it's about the same. Okay, it won't be that different. And I would prefer, if you have a pi key, that you use a pi key. All right. That was circumference. Now we're going to talk about area. The area of a circle also uses pi, and the formula is area equals pi times the radius squared. And you must follow the order of operations and square the radius, then multiply it by pi. Okay, you don't do 3.14 times whatever your r is and then square that product. It's follow order of operations, radius squared, then times it by pi. So let's do a simple one first. Here's my circle. My radius is 6. I always like you to write down what the radius is and what the diameter is, so then you make sure you pick up the right number when you're finding circumference or area. So that's a really good habit to get into. Okay. First thing, write down what your radius and your diameter is. Area equals pi r squared. Substitute in the values you know. 3.14 times 6 squared. Square first. 3.14 times 36. Multiply those together, and you get 113 4/100 meters squared. And remember, if you're using the pi key, your answer will be a little bit larger. Now, I'm telling you the area is 530 66/100 centimeters, and I want you to find the diameter. So, let's write down our formula. Area equals pi r squared. Substitute in the values we know. 530.66 equals 3.14, because I don't have a pi key, times the radius squared. Divide both sides of your equation by 3.14. Now, I've set these problems up to work for 3.14, so if you're using a pi key, you'll be a little bit off, but just look at the number. It's easy to round. Wow, I got 169. Perfect square. Now, how do you find, what is the inverse operation of squaring? Take the square root of both sides of the equation. When you take the square root, your radius would equal plus or minus 13, because r squared equals 169 is plus or minus 13. However, solving x squared gives you 2 solutions. However, measurement is not negative, so only the positive 13 is correct. The negative 13 is what we would call extraneous. So your answer would be 13 centimeters. Do not tell me both values, okay? That tells me you don't know what you're doing. But, did I say find the radius? No, I said find the diameter. So diameter is 2 times the radius, 2 times 13, 26, and you can just do the math in your head and write d equals 26. You don't have to show the work on that. All right, one last thing. Here's a beautiful window. Look, we need to find the area of the window. Well, this window is made of half of a circle and a rectangle. My measurements are 4 feet for the base, 11 feet for the height. So, this 4 feet is also your what? Hopefully you said diameter. So if the diameter is 4, that means the radius is 2. Okay, fill that in. It does help. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do, the area is half of the circle, 1/2 pi r squared, plus the rectangle, base times height. So I'm going to do half pi times 2 squared, because the radius is 2, plus 4 times 11. I did the 2 squared and got 4. I did 4 times 11 and got 44. Half of 4 is 2. And so my first answer is 2 pi plus 44. And sometimes you are asked to leave the answer in terms of pi. So if you did that, you would write 2 times pi plus 44 feet squared is your area. Okay, it's the whole thing. You want to put it in parentheses because it's not just 44 feet squared. And that is the most accurate measure, because when we multiply it by the pi key or by 3.14, we're not going out to infinity. But if we really need to find the area because we're going to put window film or something on it, we need to do the math. So 2 times 3.14 is 6.28 plus 44, 50.28 feet squared, or 50 and 28/100 feet squared. And that's it.